Hey everybody, today is January 12th, 2024. I'm Gene.
And I'm Zane.
And you're hanging with Uncle.
How's it going?
Good, man.
Good. I forgot to take my sunglasses off. I always forget something. I hope everyone had a wonderful week. It has been a long, dragging one for sure. I almost cut my finger off. It's been great.
Man, so I paid my house off, in December.
Yep.
And it's kind of like that thing where you get that feeling where, like when you pay your car off, oh my God, I'm home free now and the transmission blows out.
No longer. Yeah.
So, I paid my house off last month and now I have to replace the central heat and air unit on the roof. And that's going to set me back about $7,000.
Makes sense, but it's a
that's
little
my
cold.
week.
A little cold.
Yeah. Yeah. A little bit.
Just a little bit. But I really hope it honestly gets fixed soon. Honestly.
Man, me too.
Because it's not been fun, I'm sure. It doesn't sound fun to me. But we do have a few things to talk about this week.
Yes.
But first, do not forget to hit the like button.
And subscribe.
Yes, and also hit the notification button to know whenever we go live in the future, just like how we just did now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
And we're done. That's the intro. First things first, I had a conversation, or topic, I want to bring up for conversation with Eugene. Is one term, gentrification.
Yeah.
Now, to you, what is gentrification?
Gentrification is a double-edged sword to the community. On the one hand, to the people that live in these areas that are being moved out while the building is being renovated or rebuilt, that can no longer afford to live where they were living because of the cost and the rise of rent or buying, just like what you're going through.
Right.
But the good part of it is, because it's so much more, now the city gets a lot more incoming tax dollars, which is why you see a lot of those cool, like, new coffee shops and internet cafes and vegan places and things
Places
like
to go
that.
Spend money.
Right. So, on the one hand, it displaces people out of their homes. And I think if I were to put it on a scale, I would say there's got to be another way.
And I think a lot, when you say double-edged sword, there is like a positive, of course, goes to corporations and the city, of course, but then the negative, hurting the community. Some people have this idea that there isn't a negative to it. Like, gentrifying means I own the corner of the street, that sidewalk corner, and then a big business buys the corner and they want to buy that square off of me. They think that's what gentrification is. Or like they find oil in their backyard and their property's worth more and the companies want to come in and buy their home because they found gold in their backyard. That's what people generally think blanket coded gentrification is.
And that is not even close to what it is.
So I wanted to talk about that because that word is being floated around in the city of Philly. Now, Philly is also having a homeless issue. I've been bringing this issue up a lot. I'm sorry if it's been repetitive. But they're having a worse issue than what San Francisco is having. They're having a zombie, necrotic, skin-eating issue. People are not shooting up or smoking fentanyl out there. I don't know how fentanyl works. Sorry if I miscorrected the term. But they are actually overdosing and dying off of horse tranquilizer. Xylazan is what it's called, I believe. And it's not good. Now, the reason why gentrification came up, they have these people out there on the streets. They got them out from underground, which to my understanding they had tent cities down there and like a subway station. And they cleaned those people out and now they're all on the surface getting high off of this horse tranquilizer and passing out on the streets in broad daylight, not being arrested unless they're selling, and just being left to die out there.
So what that reminds me of was a show on HBO back in the early 2000s called The Wire. And it happened in Baltimore. I remember Michael B. Jordan couldn't have been more than 13 years old in that thing, man. He was just a kid. And there was so much corruption with cocaine going on and heroin, and where you could get it, it was out on the street. It was so prevalent, and so many complaints from the community about gang and drug activity in the streets. Mm-hmm. And so one brass from the Baltimore PD decided to set up safe zones mm-hmm. to keep people off the street, where you can go into this area and feel free to go ahead and shoot up, and nobody's going to bother you. And if you want to sell it to them, you sell it to them here in this safe zone, mm-hmm. and nobody's going to bother you. And it worked so well, people started asking questions. Well, where'd everybody go?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like the safe centers that we talk about, too, like where people are able to go get safe products and stuff like that to go and do the things that they need to do. But the places are being closed down, so they don't have those safe spaces. And also Philly, they weren't seeing this out in the streets in front of kids and public, and having places closed down and buildings like not being used because of it, because these people were all underground at one point. But the city decided to clear that out, allow this to happen on the street. Now this is where that gentrification comes around. Now these buildings, they leave, they don't, people don't pay rent anymore, they close their stores, they move away, whatever, and they go down in a cheaper price. They allow these people to stay there to do that. Because on the other side of the river, which is not, there's no river, it's just really like the next block, you were just saying new coffee shops, new buildings, everything's being built right next door with no homeless issues. Cops are out there arresting people normally, taking care of things like they're supposed to.
Uh-huh.
It's like...
It's the same thing.
It's an abuse of it in some way, but they're doing it with a new narcotic.
And remember, drug. San Francisco did away with that in, what was the Tenderloin District.
Yep. That's what it was called. Yeah, Tenderloin. Yeah. You got it. That's right. Yeah, the Tenderloin District. And these cities are making these rash decisions for these people, which I don't, not an advocate for, but I think if we were to actually do something like these non-harm centers where they're able to go and be safe and have med on standby, which increases jobs and allows them to not be in sight and to be safe as well.
Yeah.
Then it would make our places a better place, or a happier place and overall. But with this gentrification benefiting the city, I guess, is it really benefiting the city if they're actually actively using these people who are dying, these people who are killing themselves actively, instead of finding the solution for them? Is gentrification really something that we should be focused on if this is an abuse of power, I feel like, in a way?
I'm going to add a variable to this algebra equation and throw climate change in there. Because Philly is damn near on the coast, flooding is an issue. We're going to have rising sea levels. Nothing's going to stop that. Is moving the people out from underground an act of preservation for when the water comes in?
No idea.
And again, I'm just asking. I don't live in Philadelphia.
Who knows? Yeah. I don't know. If anybody is in Philly, let us know. And let us know how you feel about this. Because we love Channel 5 here. It's not like we're trying to take a story. I feel like we need to echo a conversation about drugs and how our city needs to actually handle these people and learn from what other cities are doing so we can make a better decision, because this is also not what you want to do. The neighborhood that they are in now was back when an old white suburban neighborhood, back when they had people moving in from the south to the north and all the whatever. It's a whole history. Go look it up too. For Philly has a huge history of immigration, but a lot of the black community moved to Philly, and a lot of the white community left.
White flight.
Yes, thank you. That's what it's called. But it's still stuck with it being a low poverty area. Nothing else flourished there. The city didn't put money there anymore. They just stuffed all these people there, hoping they would go get jobs and hoping they would all make money, and then all the others would be fine, where they can go spend their money and be safe and whichever.
Yeah.
And it has stayed that way until today now. So it's like, is it a mistreatment of these people? Are our cities really doing the right thing? You have to look at history, which people are trying to delete still. to figure this out. But gentrification is not, I don't think, a good thing.
And it's rock, paper, scissors, because you defeat one thing, but it creates another problem. And then, it's like if you give a mouse a cookie.
Yeah. And they're giving them pretty crazy type of cookies.
Yeah.
But there's more to it. Honestly, go look into it, because I don't want to make this whole segment too long, because there's a lot more of a deep dive into it. We're going to actually watch the Channel 5 segment on it later, because I think it's a pretty cool thing to look into. And, but go educate yourself.
Again, like anything else, this problem is not going to go away, and it is a problem, because no matter where you live, you deal with it. We have a very large homeless population here in Phoenix.
Texas has tent cities, literally on the freeway.
So what is the humanitarian response? Because it's put on somebody else's shoes. If you were homeless, how would you want to be treated?
Exactly.
And don't say, well, it will never be me, because that's not the issue.
That's not the question we're asking.
Right. It's not. It's all about empathy, and just we're in this together. It's not every man for himself, and,
right?
That's how I look at it. So
right,
yeah.
Well, that's not what you think. I felt like it was an interesting conversation.
Yeah, definitely. Well, before we get started on this next one, I need to take a drink.
Yes. The chai tea is delicious, actually.
Yeah,
it's really sweet.
I think that's what made me really thirsty. But I was watching the news today and came across some very important information. Remember, I said I wouldn't talk about, Cadet Bones' person unless it was something important.
Oh, I guess it's important, huh?
And it's important.
Yeah,
so
there we go.
The United States Supreme Court today sent a request to the Colorado Supreme Court requesting, and I'm paraphrasing it, but their factual findings of the case. Now, I'm not an attorney, but from what I remember of constitutional law,
which you studied, I'm sure,
for an entire year.
Okay.
When you go before the Supreme Court, it is all about questions of law, not questions of fact, because the Supreme Court is not a trier of fact.
Right.
That is at the trial court levels, right? So the state of Colorado, remember, they had their court. They put on evidence, put on witness testimony, and it was determined that he participated in an insurrection. So,
which is what it was.
That's exactly.
I heard he's
what
calling them hostages now.
He is.
Oh my god!
But so now remember, the trial court in Colorado said, but he's not an officer under the 14th Amendment, Section 3 of the Constitution. And then that got overturned on the appellate level when it went to the Colorado Supreme Court. Right? So the facts have been gone through in Colorado. Dumbass writes in his request for certiorari, his question to the Supreme Court: did the Colorado courts erroneously allow me to be taken off the ballot? That's a question of fact.
Yeah.
That is not a question of law. So that is why the Supreme Court sent to Colorado, what is your fact findings? What is the factual basis for this?
Yep.
Let us see it, because if this is a question of fact, then we don't have jurisdiction here, and it's over. But the door was wide open from the trial court of Colorado, and he could have asked the question, and this would have been a legal question: did the Colorado Supreme Court err in determining that, I was actually an officer under Section 14, Clause 3? Now that's something that the Supreme Court needs to decide.
Right.
Or was, as a question of law, was evidence included that should not have been included? These are rules of evidence that are supposed to be followed. Those are rules of law. Those would be proper questions to put before the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. But that's not what they asked for.
No. That's what I say, but Gene, you didn't ask a question like Jeopardy. Who is Cadet Bumspurs? Alex won't give you points for that. So you have to ask it correctly.
Oh my goodness. So so in my opinion, if that's what the Supreme Court is asking for, then he does not stand a chance.
No.
And will continue to remain off the ballot in the state of Colorado.
Which is up to the states, because he's also said it's the state's decision.
It is.
A lot of things.
And so even now, these states that have determined, like Oregon was the last one, that says, no, we're still going to allow him to be on the ballot. Okay, well, that's just a primary. But now come general election time, I bet you have a different response. And he won't be on the ballot in those states. And that's just... Again, based on the question the Supreme Court asked the state of Colorado.
Interesting.
Right.
What about Maine? Did Maine say anything yet? Or is anything happening on any other states? Is there any updates for that? Any others that removed him or no?
I haven't heard anything about Maine, but I know Colorado oral arguments are February 8th. Mm-hmm. So they're coming up pretty quickly.
What's with this $400,000 I'm hearing about?
That's totally separate. That's in a civil case.
Okay.
Between he and the New York Times, and he was ordered to pay their attorney's fees. So he just keeps losing.
Minus $400,000.
I'm so tired of losing.
Minus $400,000. They should have like a tracker of how much he's lost throughout, like after being president.
So again, no one has ever considered him smart. Anyone that was smart, anyway.
I've never put him smart and him in the same sentence.
He was not supposed to deliver closing arguments because he would not agree to adhere to the rules and decorum of the court.
Yeah.
And he got up anyway and started shouting and accusing the judge of being crooked and the attorney general of being crooked, and he's being persecuted illegally. And the judge is like yelling at the attorney, put your client in check.
Yeah.
And he just kept going, and the judge just said, I'm done, cut it off, and we're out of here. Now, remember, this is not a trial by jury.
No.
Because his attorney forgot to check a box requesting a trial by jury.
Oh, Lord.
So it is only the judge.
And if you're messing with the judge
case
like that, she's just going to do it.
Oh, my God.
Pop.
So Arthur and Goron will no doubt rule in favor of the attorney general for probably everything she's asking for, just by the way he conducted himself in court and the utter disrespect he showed for...
He's like a child.
He is.
He's like a kid. And he just wants to throw a tantrum and say what he wants to say.
I mean, there's no way I want him anywhere near the White House.
No, not at all. I actually saw a Trump 2024 sticker today for the first time in a while. I don't see him often.
Yeah, I think the Supreme Court really is like the last line of defense. Oh, and something else, man. Now,
yeah,
I'm a man.
Yes.
You're a man.
Yes.
This dumbass is on TV spouting off how the Supreme Court owes me. I put them on there. You know, they have a majority because of me. Mm-hmm. Motherfucker, you don't own me. Mm-mm. Guess how I'm going to vote?
Yeah. True.
Right? So I'm
True.
just like, no. The Supreme Court is not going to look at this as political.
No.
They're going to look at this as, oh my God, are we really this close to the brink of losing our country? And I think the question they asked, the Colorado Supreme Court says it all. And I'm starting to take in a deep breath for that exhale.
Yeah. So, what about this? I wanted to bring one more thing. Trump must return $7.8 million in foreign payments. Democrats demand. What is happening with that?
So according to the emoluments clause of the Constitution, the president is only allowed to receive the salary given to him by the people.
Okay.
Period.
That's it.
And they pay him enough to where you would think he would not be subject or be drawn to a bribe because he's not paid enough. Mm-hmm. So let's get this clear. The president makes $450,000 a year.
Okay.
That's why the emoluments clause exists. That's why he's paid so much of our tax dollars.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And which means he's not allowed to make any money, period.
Outside of his service of being a president. Correct. So just like my caregivers, they can't go work for another company. Well, no, they can't. Sorry. They work for our company, but they can't go work for somebody who's not within our company. Basically the same deal. Right?
Correct.
Yeah. So he has to be president within his jurisdiction.
Now, he can accept gifts and money with the approval of Congress,
I'm sure
which he never asked for.
I'm sure Clarence has sent him a few things.
But so the money that he's taken from China mostly, and Saudi Arabia and Russia, all this money that he's reporting that he's gotten while he was president are emoluments that he never should have received in the first place, and those are the funds that are demanding him to return.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So that $7.8 million is a lot.
Because again, when you hear the president say, "I made so much this year," you just violated the emoluments clause. So, again, I've never accused him of being smart.
No, well, accused. He doesn't get that accusation. No. Yeah, like I said earlier, never in the same sentence have I said that. But I mean, I'm over it, man. I've said it so much. He just needs to go away.
I think it's time for our dumbass.
It is.
Man, because I could go on and on and on about this particular dumbass.
I have a good one. I wanted to do, not like a shout out for any reason whatsoever, just to give you guys some content to absorb. We've been saying it already throughout the show. Check out Channel 5 with Andrew Callahan. He's an amazing interviewer, and he really goes into the hard-hitting stories that not many news anchors or anybody else has really done before, or journalists have done before. He's hard hitting. He's awesome. Channel 5, Andrew Callahan. Also, check out the Cat Williams interview with Shannon Sharp on Club Shay Shay. That was amazing. I'm sure a lot of people have seen it already. There were 17 million views plus last time I checked, and that was like a week ago. So check that out. And then
we watched it that day.
Yeah, we did, and great, amazing content. But to echo off of the Cat Williams things, people felt a little snarky and spunky and felt like they could do exactly what he did. Like Mr. Jason Whitlock.
Don't work that way.
Gets my dumbass of the week. He targeted probably one of the biggest black names in, I would say, celebrities or sports right now, anchors, news, today, Stephen A. Smith. We have said a few things about Mr. Smith, which I would say I could take back on.
I'm not a fan of Stephen. However,
I will take most of what I've said back from Stephen because, one, he wrote a memoir. Memoir's amazing. I haven't read it itself, but there was some spark notes I looked into. I know how to find some information on things, and based on his life and everything, I would say I will take back many things that I have felt towards Mr. Smith and have a different light of how I see him Now.
Well, when I say I'm not a fan,
yeah, you're not just not a fan.
I'm just not a fan of his delivery and his over the top.
Over the top,
you know, that's the part that kind of like sets me off.
I think
other than that, I mean,
I think we have put him in the category as a puppet, but now we're taking him out of the puppet category and putting him in with the cookout barbecue because the puppets are actually attacking him. Jason Whitlock is a puppet, and Stephen A. also has called him a few other things. You go to check him out on his YouTube show. But Jason Whitlock called him out in his memoir, which is supposed to be a legal novel written about your life by the person who is Stephen A. Correct? A story about his life. And he discredited everything. He told him, everyone said his shit's full of lies, that this, that, and the third. He never did this, he never did that. He works for white people, this, that, and the third. Which is where we did the puppet thing, right? I'm going to say, we're taking that back because of this. Yeah, time out. Go ahead.
All I'm going to say is somebody like Stephen A.,
yes,
who's had a career on ESPN and social media, does not do a damn thing without a legal department. So if he's putting out something about himself, you can promise that he has it legally checked first. And continue.
Yes. So again, we are figuring out who the real puppets are because Cat Williams, echoing off of the show, is saying the truth will be revealed, and good truth and bad truth are being revealed throughout 2024 so far. I feel like, and Jason Whitlock has helped out with that because he has the ideals that black men shouldn't work for white men, and that black is black and it shouldn't be any other way. Now, that's some Hitler stuff.
That's extreme.
It is. For somebody who has been targeted specifically in something like that, personally, for not being black enough, it's not right. And he gets a Dumbass of the Week trophy from me because Stephen A. Smith called him out on this show. Now, I'm only explaining why he's a dumbass because of what he did. If you want to go check out that show, you're more than welcome to. Go ahead, Gene.
Yeah. No, I support you on that, man.
Yes.
Stephen A. did the right thing. Shut up, Jason.
Yeah.
So my dumbass of the week is the current House Oversight Committee chairman, Representative Jim Comer, Republican from Kentucky. Because they had a hearing this week to hold Hunter Biden in contempt for not complying with a congressional subpoena. And again, you know, we've talked about this before. Hunter showed up. I've listened to television interviews where Comer said if he wants to come, you know, and testify before the American people, we'll do that. Hunter gets his subpoena and goes there, and they say, no, we want to do this behind closed doors. And he says, no, I'm not going to do it. And they want to hold him in contempt. While the same members of the Oversight Committee, Jim Jordan, Scott Perry, Andy Biggs.
I've heard these names before.
They're all Republican members of Congress, the House of Representatives, that sit on the Oversight Committee that have refused to comply with a legal congressional subpoena, signed by the clerk of the House of Representatives. They've just decided they're not going to comply with. Mark Meadows decided not to comply with it. Steve Bannon, Dan Scavino, they've all decided to just thumb their noses up and say we're not complying. But now they want to hold Hunter Biden in contempt, who did show up, but just didn't want to go behind closed doors. He says, no, I choose option A in front of the American people with the cameras and everyone.
But they didn't want that to happen.
But they don't want that to happen. And they got caught because they're frauds.
Yeah.
But of course, you know, they have their heads down and still voted in the committee to hold Hunter Biden in contempt, and now that vote's going to go to the floor.
That's some bullshit.
Right? You guys are hypocrites, and Jim Comer, you're a dumbass. And you have no leg to stand on, no credibility as a human being, And you do not deserve to be in the House of Representatives.
No.
Having no moral turpitude.
Agreed. That's insane. Wow. The fact that they can just manipulate, and even if they don't get the results they want, they can still technically get what they want.
They just move the goalposts.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
I dare you to step over this line.
Literally just outside, move the goalpost. Yeah, and they step over. No, I dare you to step over this line.
Yeah.
Oh, cartoons.
Right? That's what they are, man. They're a clown show.
They are clowns, for sure.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So anyway, I'm voting. That is another reason. That is an example. Mm-hmm. It's not I'm so pro-Democrat. I sure don't want those son of a bitches that have proven they have no credibility and don't know how to govern, have passed no legislation. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not voting for that. Mm. And they just continue to prove why I'm going to vote Democrat in November.
The facts don't lie.
Period. Anyway, that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Gene.
And I'm Zane.
And you've been hanging with Uncle.
Have a good weekend. Be safe.
And be kind to everyone and don't